Okay, so let's go ahead and get into our lesson for today. So today you guys are actually going to be working as groups, a little bit more than we did yesterday. And then you have an independent activity that will be taken as a quiz grade. It'll be the first quiz grade of the fourth 9 weeks for you guys in math. All right, so we're starting with number 1. This is going to be your warm-up. So it says label each point on the coordinate plane with the appropriate letter and ordered pair. So at the bottom, you see A, B, C, and D. You have 4 points right here. So you have to figure out which one is A, which is 7, negative 5.5, B, which is negative 8.4, C, your pencil should not be on your paper yet, C, which is 32, and D, which is negative 3.5 and 2 tenths. All right, so when you have this stand up, I'm only gonna give y'all like a minute and a half. Should not take us very long to locate these points. Go ahead. So that means you did it already, which really aggravates me. I give you time. You don't need to do things ahead. Sit down, please. If you want to use a different color, you definitely can today as well. It might help make things stand out a little bit more. Bless you. No, Marion?
No.
All right, go ahead and have a seat. All right, so A, someone raise your hand and tell me what quadrant it's in and how do I get there? All right, Gabby.
It's in quadrant 4.
Quadrant 4.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's going to move 7 to the right and 5 and half down.
Okay. All right. Everybody agree?
Yes.
All right. For B, tell me what quadrant and how do I get there? Lily.
This is in quadrant 2.
Okay. All right. How many of you guys agree that that is B? All right. What about C? What quadrant? How do I get there? Abby. All right. How many of you guys agree that that is C? Okay. And then the last one, D. All right, Andrew. Sure. Yes. It is a quadrant, which is good. All right. And then what? Okay. And how many of you guys agree that that is D? All right. So essentially this is what today is all about. we're gonna be looking at points, we're gonna be trying to determine, temperatures, we're gonna be trying to determine account balances, all of that. Excuse me, so again, you're gonna be doing a lot of group work today. And then at the end of the day, you will, like I said, have that assignment that you'll have to do independently. Alright, so slide down to 3.2. It says, the graph shows the balance in a bank account over a period of 14 days. The axis is labeled B, which represents the account balance in dollars. The axis labeled D represents the days. Alright, so which one is D and which one is B? Okay, so the balance, you said is your Y, and the days is your X. Okay, so that's something that you guys need to keep in mind. So the X axis is the number of days, the Y axis is the amount of money. Okay, now your questions are on the other side. So you have, number one, it says estimate the greatest account balance on which day did this occur. All pencils are down. You are working as a group. You will have time to do this. Number two, it says estimate the least account balance on which day did this occur. What does the value, or what does the 0.6 negative 50 tell you about the account balance? And how can we interpret that number in the in the context of what we're dealing with? You can use different colors to identify what points you're looking at on the graph. Please make sure you have a full explanation here for each one of these. You are working together, you are not working independently, so please make sure you're talking to your group members. I would say no more than 5 minutes. If we need a little bit more time, I will give you more time. When you are finished, stand up so I can kind of check your group. Okay, any questions? All right, go ahead and get started. Do you want me to put the original graph so it's a little bit easier to see? Yes. Okay. All right. Alright guys, here's the original.
Hey, thanks.
Okay.
On day.
I'll say that they're maybe $50 zero.
So like we can be negative. Yeah, negative. That would be.
On the last.
I mean, we're doing money right now.
Yeah. So hard not to laugh. Funny though.
If Joe has to pay $50.
Atticus, because Atticus is really, really funny during the summertime. He's really, really cool during
Okay, we'll talk about it. Okay, so hopefully some of you guys got through the first 3 questions at least, and then possibly got stumped on that last one. All right, so let's go ahead and go over these questions. All right, so the first question was, what was the greatest balance and on what day did this occur? So the greatest balance being, I marked mine in a red. So what was the greatest balance and what day? Alex?
$375 on day 14.
Say that again?
$375 on day 14.
Yes, so $375, give or take a few, on day 14. Thumbs up if you guys got that one right. Okay? All right, so the least balance and what day did that occur? So I marked mine with a blue down here. Joe, what did you guys come up with?
We came up with day 11 and he's negative, or they are negative $90.
Okay, so yeah, so you should have about $90 negative, and then it should be on day 11. So maybe you guys got around that number and the correct day. Okay, number 3, it says what does the 0.6 negative 50 tell you about the account balance? So 6 negative 50 is right here, so I went over 6 days and down 50. So what is that telling us about the balance in the account on day 6? Brielle?
They're in debt.
They're in debt, so they owe the bank $50, right? So that 4th question applies to question number 3, and it says, how can we interpret the absolute value of negative 50 in the account? Based off of what Brielle just said, you answer your own question. Because if it's below 0, especially in a bank account, do you have $50 or do you owe the bank $50? you owe the bank $50. So that should be like your explanation. This is not exact, but this is just kind of, so the absolute value of -50 means they owe the bank $50 on the 6th day. All right, does that make sense to those of you who kind of got a little stumped on number 4?
Yes.
Okay, so remember, when you're dealing with absolute value, even if it's a negative in the absolute value, you have to look at the context of it. So you wouldn't say that the bank, we know that this is going to be a positive 50 because of the absolute value, right? So we know we're going to state it as a positive 50, but you have to make sure you still state it correctly. All right, questions about that? All right, so go ahead, flip the paper over. Pencils are down. It says the coordinate plane shows the high and low temperatures in Nome, Alaska over a period of 8 days. The axis labeled T represents the temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit. The axis labeled D represents the day. All right, so again, our T is what axis? It's the Y, which is representing the temperature. And then our D is what axis? The X, and it's representing the number of days. All right, again, very similar to what you just did as a group. You're answering these 4 questions. So 1A says, what is the warmest temperature? B says, write an inequality to describe the highest temperature, H overall, over the 8-day period. So cannot forget about inequalities, but you can use your coordinate grid to help you write that. And then 2 says, what is the coldest low temperature? And then same thing, write an inequality to describe the low temperatures L over the 8-day period. Please use H and please use L as your variables when you're writing your inequality. If you have forgotten inequalities, do you have this beautiful notebook that has information about inequalities in it?
Yes.
Can you go back? Yeah. Your page is not glued? You can't go back? Okay, I'm just making sure. All right, so I'm gonna give you again 5 minutes. All right, go ahead, get started. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yep. I will put this graph back up as well for y'all.
Coldest.
3-7. Yeah. Well, no, it's 7-3.
Here you go, y'all.
Thanks. I highly doubt it's right. I mean, I don't know.
Hold on. All right, guys, have a seat. All right, so what was the warmest day? What was the warmest day? Ariana. 28 degrees on day one. And then what was the coldest day? Lily? Okay, so you should have warmest of 28 degrees Celsius, and what's the problem? If you lift that chair up right there, you're going to flip the table. Baby, get it out from under the table, son. And the coldest should be -3 degrees Celsius. All right, what is one inequality that you can write for the warmest day? What's one of the inequalities you can write for the warmest day? 1 to 23, no, absolutely not. Inequality, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not asking for coordinates, am I? If you don't know what an inequality is, we only just stop talking about it on Monday. You've got to remember what an inequality looks like. I don't want coordinates. Coordinates do not go with an inequality. Here.
H is greater than -3.
Okay, so H is greater than -3. Okay. Anybody have something different? Okay. Why less than or equal to?
Because 48 is the highest, and any other one temperature is below that. And it's over the 8-day period, so not what it could be, but more what it was in the burning frame, and then it is equal to because 48 was.
Okay, I disagree with your equal to. Because 28 is the highest that it was. So we don't want to include 28. We want it to be below, same with that, it's below 28. What about the coldest? What do your inequalities look like for the coldest day? Gabby?
L is less than 28 degrees.
Okay, fair enough. All right, what could another one look like? Ariana?
28 degrees greater than
No. Why?
L.
Because that's saying like it would have to be greater than 28. Okay, Andrew?
No, it's less than
22. Okay. All right. Examples, not exact. It's what they could be. Make sure that your numbers are falling in between the -3 and the 28. Okay? All right. Just kind of making sure that you do not forget about inequalities because they're not going anywhere. You have tests next Thursday, so you have to remember them. All right. Take a second. Get this food into your notebook. Close your notebook so that I know you're ready and we can go over your next assignment. Okay, so you are going to be going into Canvas today for your next assignment that you're going to be doing for the remainder of class today. When you go to Tuesday, it gives you the lesson that we just did. This is the assignment that you are working on. All right, so you're going to click on this, and it is going to make you make a copy of the assignment. You're going to make a copy. Possibly. The very first thing I need you to do is to change the title. Whether you rename it in Google Drive or you rename it here, I don't care, but I have to have you rename it. And I just need you to put your first and last name. So for this one, obviously, I'm gonna do Miss Kenny Coordinate Plane Activity. What you are doing is, it says, look at the coordinate plane below, identify the coordinates of each point. Next, find the correct coordinate on the bottom right of the slide and move the coordinate to the correct letter on the right side of your table. So just starting with A. So A is right here. I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm looking for 2, 4. Do you see a 2, 4 anywhere? Lily?
There, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So essentially, you're going to grab this box and move it up here. If the drag and drop does not work for you, you can always just add a text box and put it in and type it on that line. And then you're going to B and C and D all the way through the alphabet. There are 26 points. That means you have a total out of 26. So if you get 26 out of 26, you get a 100. Anything that you miss, obviously, is going to go down from there. You need to take your time. I don't care if you take the remainder of the class to get this done. Take your time. Like I said, this is your first quiz grade for the 4th 9 weeks in math. Okay? Are there any questions with what you're doing for the remainder of class today? No? You're good? Okay? Alright, go ahead and get started. If you want, you may work around the room. You don't have to stay in your seat.